Hello, I'm Alex the Hunted, and welcome to a new weekly feature I'm hoping to do called Thursday Night Movie Reviews. Basically what it is, every Tuesday I go down to the local Empire Cinema in Sunderland and I watch the new releases that come out. And because Thursday is my day off from work, I will try and review them on that day. And what is today's movie? Well, it is the new movie by Ron Howard called Rush, starring Chris Hemsworth, and I've got the name here and I'm going to butcher it right now. It's Daniel Brühl. He plays Niki Lauda, and James Hunt is played by Chris Hemsworth. This is the story of their rivalry in Formula 1 and the incident that Niki Lauda had at the Nürburgring. And all I can really say is this, I can just sum it up like, this has been the best movie I've seen so far this year. It's better than Pacific Rim. It's better than pretty much every other. This is my favourite movie of the year so far. I literally cannot tell you how good this movie was. It's not like most biopics, like the one that's coming out soon about Diana, where it's glorifying and making up kind of lies about a certain event in history. This is definitely, I'm not saying probably a few things that might have been said were fake, but there was no point during this film where I thought, oh yeah, that didn't happen or that wasn't said. This was such a well written, well acted, just all around brilliantly made movie. And wow, was this movie! As you can see, I'm struggling to think of words for it. It was that good. I mean, I'll put it to you this. Wait, the story starts before Chris Hemsworth or before James Hunt or Niki Lauda both make it to Formula 1. It starts off when they both first meet each other in Formula 3. And it just shows the different ways of how they do Formula 1. James Hunt is a Jack the Lad. He has a lot of sex, he just drinks a lot, has a lot of parties, and then every now and then just gets in a racing car and drives like the Clappers. Niki Lauda is, every free moment of his time is spent trying to make the car go a bit faster, trying to improve himself. He is a very clinical man, and the movie is very good at showing the two different ways of how these people live their life, and they never focus. None of the two characters have like the majority of the screen time. They both have equal amounts of screen time. The first part of the movie is pretty much James Hunt getting into Formula 1, he's signed on by a team, and you see Niki Lauda get into Formula 1 by basically he takes out a loan at a bank and pays a failing Formula 1 team to basically he pays for them to drive in Formula 1, and then he gets signed up by Ferrari. And these two, and then the second half of the film is pretty much after Niki Lauda's accident where he got severely burned, and I'll say this, it's a very graphic scene, Niki Lauda being burnt and his recovery in hospital. It's very gruesome, it's very gory, but it's not overly gory. But it's just how well this is acted and how well the makeup and how much the building up for the scene was done, that when it happens and while it's going on, at no point do you see blood like flying out anywhere or anything like that. But you just can't help but think this is how well the performance is, that you know that this is incredibly unbearably painful. And it kind of makes you have a new respect for this rivalry and these two men, because at no point is it said that these two actually hate each other, or at no point are these two, or at no point during this film do these two become like the best of friends. They never call themselves enemies, they never call themselves friends, but they always say that they respected each other. The final monologue in this film is one of the best I've ever heard in movies. It is such a well thought out film. These two people, James Hunt and Niki Lauda, they're never gonna go out on the town with each other, or they're not best of friends. They barely like each other, you can actually see, but they have so much respect for both of them. They both envy how the other can do what they do. Like, it's that Niki Lauda envies how James Hunt can just have a great time with what he's doing, be a jackalad, have sex with tons of women, and James Hunt is so jealous of how Niki Lauda is so focused, so driven to continue. And there are just so many great scenes which just establish that this wasn't like I said, it wasn't a friendship, but the respect was more than friendship could ever give these two. And it's a very, very thought-provoking, and I've never cried at a film, but when Niki Lauda's just before Niki Lauda's crash and after it, and his time in hospital and just before it, is some of the most emotional and closest I've ever come to bawling up in a cinema. I didn't cry, I haven't cried yet, but actually wait, I have cried at a movie, but I've never cried at a cinema. And that was such an emotional and very hard to watch scene. And it's not because it was hard to watch because of like the accident and the injuries and stuff. It was just hard to watch because of what this man was going through, the pain he was going through. It's movies like this that's why I fell in love with films in the first place. There is so much heart and passion made into this film. Every single performance given in it is just so well put together. Even some of the actors who only have a few speaking lines in it, they have such a great, they're just delivered so well, and so it's just such a good film. It's the best film I've seen all year. The racing scenes in this film, this was during the time of racing, of Formula 1, where it was dangerous. They'd say 2 people a year in Formula 1 during this period died because it was so unsafe. These races, the cars were basically bombs that could go over 200 miles an hour. You see it time and again, and you see the impact that this has on the drivers and how much this affects, because you don't see a driver die in the film. Well, you don't see it, but you see the aftermath of an actual driver dying, and you see how it affects both these characters, both in different ways. And it's just a great story. I did research before I watched this film on the actual rivalry between James Hunt and Niki Lauda, and from what I gathered and what is put on screen, like I said, not many parts of this film I would go, yeah, that never happened. It's probably because these characters were so well written that you would believe that, and this history that was put into this film was just so well written. It was just such a brilliantly put together film that, I might even say I've never done a list of my favourite films of all time, but I think Rush would probably be on there. It's been a while since I've had a film affect me like that personally, in such a way. Like I left that cinema. I wasn't happy, I wasn't sad, but I was like, wow, that was just an amazing piece of cinema. And maybe because it also affects my loving in motorsports and cars as well. Maybe it's part of that, but like I said, it's an amazingly well put together film, brilliantly acted. There's a lot of heart and passion into this soul, and you can tell, like, there are some brilliant close-ups and the racing sequences, there's not that many of them in this film, because these cars, the cars that they show in this film, they're real. These are the real ones that were driven. And you see like the inner workings of these cars. You see the engines screaming, and they're so loud. They did not hold back when it comes back to the noise of these cars. When the race actually starts in these movies, in this movie, those engines are screaming, and you will actually be scared by the noise that these things make. It's actually quite terrifying, this racing scenes, because of how shaky the camera is. And I have a problem with shaky cam, but this is where shaky cam fits, because these, like I said, racing cars are not comfortable. They're not easy to drive. They are terrifying. That's what the shaky cam basically reflects what the driver is seeing. What you saw when the camera is shaking like that is what the driver saw. That's when shaky cam is done right. It makes you see what the character is seeing, and makes you more respectful, more relating to what these people are doing and risking their lives every time they get in that car. It's an amazing piece of film, and I can't recommend it enough. That just, if you have ever, since 3 years I've started doing this YouTube channel. If you have ever once took my opinion into regards, or listened to what I had to say, just listen to this one thing I have to say now. Go and see Rush. It is not a cliched, it is not a Hollywood driven film. It is a film that has heart and soul, and is performed some of the best performances I've seen all year, and you will not regret seeing this. You might cry, you might be terrified, you might be a bit disgusted with some of the things you've seen, but you will not hate this movie. You will not dislike any part of this movie. It is that good. Because those parts, like I said, if you find something disgusting in this film, that's because that's what the film wanted you to think. And that was my review of Rush. It's one of the best movies it's the best movie I've seen all year, and maybe one of the best movies I've seen of all time. Maybe. And that's the first episode of my Thursday night movie reviews. I hope you enjoyed. Tell me if you like me to do this more, and next week I will be back doing another Thursday review of what? No idea. But next time I will see you then. So I'm Alexandra, and that was Thursday Night Movie Reviews. I'll see you at the cinema.